Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dawn Melanie. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of my series, Managing Self. Today's episode is titled Trick or Treat. The last two shows I talked about my priorities, of course, health being at the top of my list, and the courage that we all share going head to head with multiple sclerosis each day. The injections, the infusions, the blood draws, the MRIs, etc., etc. Putting on that happy face when sometimes you just kind of feel like crying. Well, today I'll be talking about not focusing on being courageous. Today I just want us to all remember the days when life was simple, the days before we were stricken with MS, the days when we were kids, when trick or treat was really a major decision for us. Today I want us all to consider 3 areas where I think would be beneficial if we acted more like kids than the adults that we are today. The first area is eating more so like our parents wanted us to eat. The second is not to react to everything that we come across. And the third is to have fun, just like we did when we were kids. So again, the first one, eating like our moms wanted us to, not reacting to everything that comes across our path, FYI, or sort of social media. Okay, eating like my mom wanted me to eat. Okay, well, I'm sure we all recall hearing eat your vegetables, etc. Basically, my mom talked about meat and potatoes, eat your meat and potatoes. She talked about it so often, I sometimes wonder, like, is this some kind of band or group that she listened to on the radio when she was younger? Meat and potatoes? I don't know. Anyway, I heard that a lot of times from my mother, but I get it today. I understand that she was basically trying to emphasize that I just can't eat my snacks for breakfast, not for lunch, basically not for dinner. Basically, I had to eat other foods, meat and potatoes. I don't know where she got that saying from, but there wasn't a time that she prepared a meal for me that didn't have meat, potatoes, and some sort of vegetable. Basically, meat and potatoes, meat and rice, meat and pasta, but always vegetables. Not most times, but always vegetables. And usually they were green vegetables. I believe the only times that she wasn't serving us green vegetables was for breakfast. But I remember having something like hash browns or some sort of potatoes, always accompanied my eggs, my grits, my bacon, and my orange juice. So again, a well-balanced meal, every meal, not just snack foods. Again, she encouraged us to eat a well-balanced meal. That being said, I kind of joke sometimes and say life was tough. I say that tongue-in-cheek, of course. My mom may be listening. But I only got to eat cold cereal when my parents went fishing and we had a babysitter. So, other times than that, we had to eat, a hot meal every time, especially for breakfast. No cold cereal except for when they weren't home. What's wrong with cold cereals? Well, what's wrong with a lot of cereals is it's a processed food, and processed foods have been known to cause inflammation. And at the time in the 70s, that's something neither she nor I had any idea of, but it's something that we all know that it's not advantageous for an individual with multiple sclerosis to consume a lot of foods that will cause inflammation, as it will cause complications and things like that with our existence in therapy and ways we need to treat our disease. So basically, my mom, she was like, I'm going to quote her on this one. She wanted me to eat a little bit of this, a little bit of that, whatever. Sorry. But, again, who knew that this type of behavior that she was sort of establishing with me, I'd be appreciating it as an adult battling a chronic illness today. Another thing that she said to avoid was, she didn't tell me to avoid processed foods, but by her not allowing me to eat them on a regular basis, I was avoiding consumption of a lot of processed foods, particularly cold cereal. One thing that she did explicitly tell me to not to engage in was smoking. First and secondhand smoke, she said, don't smoke. So I didn't smoke. I think she was ahead of the general surgeon warning with this one, because okay, so maybe she did get that information from the Surgeon General, because I looked it up and it was in the initial one that was released or published was in the early 60s, and I was born in the 70s. So she probably got that information from the cigarette packs, so she knew that it was in my best interest not to smoke. But the balanced foods, I think, was almost probably maternal instinct, because actually today we know that animal fats can also cause inflammation if consumed in greater quantities. So, back then I had meat at every meal, bacon, etc. But one thing is, again, my mom encouraged me to eat a balanced meal at all times, which I still do to this very day. I don't want to say, well, it's true. I never eat meat without eating green vegetables. I don't have to have potatoes, but to this very day, I always eat meat and some sort of green vegetable to accompany it. So I'm still doing that balanced diet kind of established with my mom when I was a kid. So I eat like I eat today like my mom encouraged me to do when I was a kid. And the other thing that my mom encouraged me, particularly me and my brother, we were younger, is to drink water. Of course, kids wanted to drink sodas and sugary things like that. And again, we know today that sugary sodas is one element that causes inflammation. Something that MSers, it would be better that we avoid such things. So again, my mom didn't know anything about sugary sodas causing inflammation and that we would be battling a chronic illness, but because she established that when I was a kid, when I was little, I still drink water regularly and every day, at least a half gallon to a gallon a day. So just plain water, not water infused with any sugary substances or things like that. So water maybe infused with natural vegetables like cucumber and things like that, or some herbal leaves, mint, basil, things like that, which is good for us. And we hear so many times, investors are like, hydrate. It's so important for us to keep hydrated, and this is a habit that I established when I was a kid. So this is one thing that I want to encourage us all to do: is stay hydrated, eat your vegetables, particularly green ones, and eat well-balanced meals. To this day, I'll be 45 years old shortly, and folks always render accolades about how healthy I am, and I just politely thank them. And I usually give my mom some credit with the delivery and the side going, Mama Knows Best or Mama Done Good. I'm a certified public accountant who got certified as a fitness trainer to be well-rounded, and I know what a well-balanced meal is today, and I know the importance of this as a dietary habit, not an occasional fare. So to some dismay, all calories are not created equal. Calories are derived from proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and Mama knew best, or she done good, because she actually encouraged me to have such a diet before she even knew of anything about certified fitness training or anything of the sort. So thank you, Mom. Okay, the second area that I want to consider is not reacting to everything. Today I equate this reactionary response that a lot of us have as managing stress. MSers, we should hopefully know and understand that stress oftentimes leads to inflammation, MS flare-ups, and a lot of time relapses. The show is entitled Managing Self because I believe we are our best proponents or advocates in managing our stress, specifically managing our stress levels. That includes not reacting to everything. Back when I was a kid, I didn't react to everything, and probably because I didn't have to. And I'll admit that sometimes today I often behave the same way, as if I don't have to react to everything. And actually, it's probably, most of the time, it's true. Anyway, when I was a kid, when I was 7 years old, my mom and dad dictated bedtime to me. Today, when it's bedtime, there's definitely some things that I need to accept, especially being an MSer. I need to accept, I need to quit for the day and just retire for the evening. Sometimes the dishes aren't clean, at least rinsed out and put away in the dishwasher as I like them to be at night. Sometimes my laundry isn't put away. All of my laundry is not put away. Again, I think it's ideal. I like my t-shirts and my sleeveless shirts both hung up in the closet, in the closet, in their designated sections. I like my clothes, to be in their place, everything in its place, and a place for everything. It makes it easier for me to put away clothes when laundry's done, so I can see if anything's missing, and maybe something's at the dry cleaner that I need to go pick up and replace it in the closet. Anyway, just like I said, just some things I don't react to because I don't need the added stress. Back then, I'll be honest, when I was 7 years old, I didn't have either of these on my plate. But like back then, I needed to go to bed to rest when my body needed it the most. Today I'm older and I'm in tune with my body, and I hear when it needs to be rejuvenated. Why do I hear it? Because as an MSer, I know that I have run out of spoons for the day. In alignment with the spoon theory, I'm out of spoons, and that's all she wrote, basically. For those who have not heard of the spoon theory, I'll read a definition for you. It's a disability metaphor or a neologism used to explain the reduced amount of energy available for activities of daily living and productive tasks that may result from disability or chronic illness. Basically, we have a certain number of spoons in any given day, and when we run out, it is often very tiring, and things don't work the way they should, or the way that we are accustomed to them working. So we generally say we run out of spoons. Anyway, I manage myself by going to bed when I need to. Some people may think, well, you got 10 hours of sleep. Why are you tired now? Right. Why am I tired now? You're not tired. I'm tired now. I know my body, so I'm going to sleep. So again, an example of managing myself. No longer am I forced by anyone, thank goodness, to go to bed when I don't want to or when I don't need to. But I can say, thankfully, I am encouraged by my husband, who knows I can be as stubborn as a kid. Sometimes he knows that I can be stubborn sometimes, and he'll encourage me to just go to sleep, lay down, take a rest, take a nap, or let's go to bed for the night. I also don't go looking for things to meddle in that don't concern me. The same as when I was a kid, when I was 7 years old. I know many of you out there are very adamant about sharing, you know, your opinions about, or pardon me, your opinions with anyone and everyone who has a differing one than your own. That's fine. It's your prerogative. But today, let's go back to when we were kids. I personally don't intentionally flood my system with stressful situations. I think that simply just knowing about these situations or worldly events, whether it be local, on a national level or world level, I think just even the knowledge of those things causes stress. You know, we think about them, we ponder on those things that are not good. So I don't seek out said media coverage, particularly following highly controversial types on Twitter, engaging in sometimes harsh, demeaning dialogue with those who are generally don't give a rat's ass about my opinion. So I try not to waste my time and increase my stress level. Instead, I choose to ponder or think about those things that are good. Okay, so I personally believe that our reactionary responses and our stress levels have a positive correlation. Just my personal thoughts there. I want to ask you to remember back to when you were 7 years old. Okay, do you remember the president when you were 7? Actually, I do. Did your mom and dad vote for him? Did you wake up each morning and turn the television on, looking for the news reports and opinions, before checking your favorite cartoons? I didn't. Or did you even turn the news on at all and check for these, said airings? I didn't. Did you ask why one group was disgruntled with the another group? Why not? I know I didn't. Did you read the newspaper? I didn't at 7. I did at 8, but not at 7. I'm not going to ask the question, about social media, because I know it didn't exist. And for any listening millennials, we survived without it. That is, without social media. Our parents, they had their media fix, the 6 o'clock news, the daily newspaper delivered, and we as 7-year-olds, as kids, we were indifferent, apathetic, unconcerned, to say the least. Again, why? Because we were minors, and our voices were not heard, or perhaps simply ignored. Besides, since we knew our efforts would be mute, kids, we reserved that energy towards getting things that we knew we had to get done. And as a kid, what do you have to get done? Well, the fun stuff, like selecting our costume for Halloween, so we can say trick or treat and be, appropriately dressed according to the, I don't know, whether it be the latest fashions or TV trends. But that was important stuff for us to, select our costumes and, I guess more importantly, put our energies into things like getting our folks to actually buy it for us. Which brings me to the third point I wanted to make today, as far as kind of living more so like a kid. And that point is have fun. When I say fun, I mean truly engaging in enjoyable, pleasurable activities. Back then, when I was a kid, 7 years old, my most enjoyable activities included playing with my friends. Back then, the majority of my social interactions with friends was at school. We talked, we played before classes, we played at lunch, and during recess. A lot of my face-to-face interactions today now occur at the gym, as elementary school experience with my friends that I saw every day. The gym is a place of familiarity to me, and I often talk and socialize there. Because I am so loquacious, and I guess a worldly experience over 37 years since I was 7. My conversational encounters can occur now, and they do. They occur anywhere and everywhere. Why is that? I think it's because I don't have any personal reservations about talking to anyone. I can learn something from them, and they certainly can learn something from me. And by the time I'm finished talking with the person, I'm sure we've identified at least one or two commonalities. One of my favorite areas, or I guess commonalities that I can identify that I have in common with other people, is eating good food. And this is another area besides playing or socializing with friends, how I have fun or enjoying those pleasurable activities is eating good food. Fortunately, my mom was, and is still, I'd say, an excellent cook. And fortunately, she passed those skills along to me. I enjoy cooking and eating healthy meals so much that I've actually written, and I have some hardback copies of my first cookbook. It's called Dawn Melanie Cooks for Figure Competitions to Manage Multiple Sclerosis. And yes, I dedicated the book to who else? My mom, who was my personal chauffeur, we'll say, when I couldn't drive. Anyway, so when I think of good food, and I think of my love of food and the joy that it brings to me, I think of my mama, and I call her the Creole Cajun Queen. And growing up, she had this way of just spreading joy and happiness with food, even when she wasn't cooking. She was a great cook, but she was also, I like to call her the great snack provider. In fact, our house was the one where the kids in the neighborhood, and most of them were my friends, not all, but the kids in the neighborhood would stop by for like a breakfast snack, maybe a Pop-Tart or a piece of fruit before going to school. Today, I can't even visit my parents without coming home with a bag or two of goodies. My husband, it's funny because his initial thoughts were always that was me, that I was being silly and buying all this junk food. And it's a valid thought, I guess, because I too tend to make desserts and buy desserts all the times for him and for friends and for family members. And it's almost like a sign of love or just appreciation to show them that I appreciate them as people and as loved ones. So again, it's like my mom, I'm enjoying the joy that I get to bring to others with either cooking food or just buying snacks and things like that. So it's weird, but looking at any of my social media posts, it's very obvious. You can see that most of my media posts are of food, either me cooking or going out to eat and simply enjoying some really scrumptious, sometimes decadent food. But one thing that's common is that they're all visually, aesthetically pleasing and quite tasty. I also want to just mention that my love of, and or I guess my passion for preparing food and cooking food also is in line with my previous point of the managing the stress level in your reactionary responses, because oftentimes I may get, well, yeah, I'll say often if I feel agitated or I feel like my temperature is about to boil, I'm reaching a boiling point, or somewhat of a, I don't want to say a meltdown, but I'm agitated. I know two ways I can de-stress, and one is, of course, I go to the gym and I can exercise, and I can relieve some stress there, physically. But another thing that I do is I like to, I don't want to say just get away from everybody, but just kind of have some quiet time to myself and actually get in the kitchen and start cooking something. I think it's kind of a therapeutic, taking the knife to some vegetables, some nice root vegetables with a knife and cutting them, or maybe cutting a chicken breast. I don't know. Maybe it sounds kind of crazy, but I think just that action of cutting and chopping, and then bringing together a beautiful, tasty dish where people are going to enjoy it is actually relaxing to me. So that's another way that I have fun. So, is your MS journey, or has your MS journey been a trick or a treat? A few times mine has been like eating those sour candies, where it seems like an eternity for you to reach the center where it's actually sweet. And I'm sure a lot of you out there can relate to me when I say it's similar to getting a steroid treatment for a flare up or an exacerbation, where you're just hoping and hoping that whatever sense that you've lost or that has diminished. For instance, I lost my sight, I lost my hearing in both ears at different times, and I'll never forget taking those steroids and going, will my sight come back? Will my hearing come back? And just kind of waiting. All of my Halloween candies were not winners. Remember those black and I think it was orange wrapped candies? I don't know, they were peanut butter or something. Those weren't very good. But it didn't stop me from wanting to go trick-or-treating and trying again the next year, or doing something fun the very next day. Just like MS or my MS journey, all days aren't great, but I wake up every day with a positive attitude, looking for the best that can happen, and hoping for the best, and having positive thoughts, and like I said, pondering and reflecting upon those good things that do occur in my life. Basically, I'll never give up or relinquish my inner childhood spirit, that spirit to have fun and find the good and positive things in everything we do. My mama knew best, and I'll say she definitely done good. And for special things goes out to my mom. Shout out mom, for her for helping me be a successful MSer. In entering my 20th year, continuing to live a fun and healthy and a very stress-less existence with MS. So I want to thank you all for listening. And remember, Halloween or not, never be afraid to act like a kid sometimes. Go ahead and give yourself permission to take a time out. Your body will appreciate it, and thank you. Thank you, and have a good one.